Hi, and welcome back to Perpetual Fitness Training. My name is Holly. Thank you so much for joining me today for this calf yoga session. This is a great session for anyone that has tight calves, whether you're in the pageant circuit and you have tight calves due to those high heels, or you're a runner, anybody who has tight calves. This is a great stretch for you. All you need today is a mat, block, and strap. Make sure you're in a nice quiet space, maybe have some nice quiet music playing. But most importantly, just make sure you have time for yourself here, that you don't have anything, children, phones, anything that requires your attention, so that you can really just have some space to give yourself a little meditation or just a little quiet time, a little downtime to help balance that body. So grab your equipment and let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and begin. We're going to start on the floor in a seated easy pose. So if easy pose does not work for you, I fully am fine with you changing that position, whether it's one leg out, maybe both legs out, something to allow you to take these first few minutes to just completely relax. Speaking of relaxing, I'm going to make sure that my phone is silenced so I don't have any distractions. And I recommend that you do the same thing. All right, here we go. Wrists to the knees, sitting up nice and tall. Lift through the heart. I want you to imagine that you have a string and it's just coming out of the crown of your head, and someone is pulling on that string and giving you length in that spine. Just think space between the vertebrae. Shoulders are down, space between that chin and chest. As you lift through that crown, it will bring your chin into neutral. So if you really focus on that stretch through the crown, your chin will automatically fall into that proper spacing. Relax from the knees, release right here in the crease of that hip joint, and just feel your body sigh. Just take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, release any built up tension you have throughout your day. Let's bring our focus to our breath. We're trying to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Now, as we do this, we are trying to breathe into our chest. We're trying to keep our shoulders quiet, our belly pulled in nice and tight, and allow that air to just fill up that chest cavity. As we exhale, it's nice, slow, and relaxed. We're using that diaphragm to help push that air out. Taking in deep, deep inhale, and slow, fully exhale all that air out. Nice and controlled. As you exhale, think about relaxing your jaw. Release any tension or expression around the eyes and through the forehead. Feel those shoulders release. Let's go ahead and bring in just a little bit of neck stretching. Deep inhale. As you exhale, you're going to slowly bring the chin to the chest. You're going to push your chin in as you lift your heart to meet it, feeling the stretch in the back of the neck. Keep breathing deeply. Slowly taking right ear toward right shoulder, keeping that left shoulder relaxed and down. Coming back to the center with an inhale. As we exhale, we're going to go ahead and move to that other side. Same thing. This time we're relaxing the right shoulder, allowing it to drop, feeling the stretch along the side of the neck. Coming back to the center, lift your heart, and let's go ahead and lift that gaze back up. Nice big inhale. As we exhale, we're going to take right ear to the right shoulder. We're just moving to the side. We're trying to keep that left shoulder down. We're staying lifted through that heart. Still breathing deeply. Coming back to the center, inhale. As we exhale, we're going to slowly move to that other side. We're keeping this right side quiet. This time we're really feeling that stretch more in the side of the neck. So the last stretch kind of hit backward into that back of the neck, but this one is definitely just on the side. And let's go ahead and bring it back to the center. All we're going to do is just look over that right shoulder, hold, and coming back to the center. And now other side, keeping that tummy pulled in nice and tight. And coming back to the center. We're going to drop our chest toward the floor. But what I really want you to focus here is on that hip, right? We're actually just going to take this hip flexion or this pelvic tilt that we're going to take. So I don't want this to happen in your back. I want this to come from that pelvis. You're dropping those pelvic bones towards your thighs. You're reaching back with that tailbone. Your hands can stay on your knees or they can be on the floor, whichever is comfortable for you. We're just holding here, just breathing. Relaxing through the shoulders. We're feeling that low back. Get a nice stretch here. Now you can slowly start to sway side to side, and you can keep your hands to the floor or you can bring them back up so that you can get a little bit more range of motion. Now, as we do this, please be aware that when you move to the right, the opposite side, like the left side, is glued down into the mat. Those sits bones are down. We're not lifting the glute off the floor whatsoever, so that we get this nice long stretch along the back muscle, your QL. Coming back to the center, keep that tummy tight, lift that heart. We are going to switch the knee that's in the lead. So you're going to undo your feet and then go ahead and cross them back the other way. Up nice and tall. Again, pelvic tilt, bringing that chest down maybe a little further this time. And then let's go ahead and see if we can make this move side to side just a little bit bigger. Now we are keeping that tummy tight and we are rooting down through those sits bones. This should feel really good on that low back. If you have a tight low back like I tend to, this is one of my favorite things to do when it starts to tighten up on me. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to the right side and we're going to hold it on the right side. Those hands reach out onto the floor and I want them on the same place on the floor. What that means is you don't have one in front of the other. If your low back's feeling pretty good, you can go ahead and stack that left hand on top of that right hand. Keep those shoulders relaxed, that tummy tight. This left sits bone is reaching toward the mat and you are just allowing that head to drop. Keep that breath deep. Try to relax that left side. If you can, just focus on breathing into the low back this time, really pulling that air into that cavity, expanding and stretching that muscle just a little bit extra. One more breath, big inhale. As we exhale, we're going to gently come to the side and then slowly moving to the other side. We're keeping that tummy pulled in nice and tight. Hands reach out, shoulders are down, hands are in the same place, or you have that right on top of the left. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale, relax your shoulders. Allow this right sits bone to drop toward the floor, keeping that tummy pulled in nice and tight. One more breath, big inhale. And slowly exhale, slowly return back to the center, keeping that belly nice and tight. You're going to slowly walk your hands back up and come back into that seated position. Now, you may wonder what this has to do with the calves. Absolutely nothing. It's just one of my favorite things to open up a yoga session with. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to all fours. So here's where we're going to start sliding into more of that calf work. Hands right underneath those shoulders. Make sure they're lined up. Knees right underneath those hips. We're going to curl those toes. Take a nice big inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to lift the hips toward the ceiling. Now, when we first start, I want you to keep the knees bent, and all we're doing is pressing through the palm of the hand and the pinky finger, pushing our chest toward our thighs. Here, we're going to take the opportunity to relax our shoulders. You may not really feel much through the calves right here, and that's fine. We're just focusing from the back at this point in time.
And now we're going to go ahead and just drop those knees down, keeping your toes curled under. We're just going to push our hips back. And when you push those hips back, you're going to feel the stretch through those toes and just into the pad of the feet. Let's go ahead and slowly bring it back into tabletop. Go ahead and press those hips back up. Again, bending the knees, pushing the chest in toward those thighs, shoulder blades away from the ears. We're going to start by just jogging one heel at a time. Now, if you notice, my upper body does not move. This is all happening without any shift through that upper body. Now, you're going to find kind of a tighter way to do it, but it is the proper way to do a downward dog. So, working through that proper form to allow those muscles to stretch and relax is a better way to go about this than just kind of hoping for the best. One more time. Back down to the knees. We're going to take the top of the feet to the mat and we're going to lift the knees off the floor. And you're just going to come up as high as it takes to feel the stretch. Now, I have a lot of flexibility here, so I can come all the way up into that down dog position before I feel this through the top of the foot or into the shin. But it really is wherever you're comfortable with. And let's go ahead and take it down. We're going to sit back into a child's pose, glutes toward the heels. Just allow that head to drop, just stretching a little bit through those knees, relaxing through the back. And inhale gently up. Curl those toes. Exhale, pressing the chest toward the thighs, keeping the knees bent. Then see if you can go ahead and take both legs straight. Now, don't feel like you have to actually reach the heels toward the floor. That is something that comes with time, maybe. Maybe it doesn't. As long as you're feeling that stretch through the calves and Achilles, then that is exactly where you need to be. If you're not feeling it, you may not have those feet close enough, or they may be too close. So just kind of play around with the position until you find your sweet spot. And let's go ahead and take it down onto the knees. We are going to take that right foot forward in between those hands. We're going to work into a half splits. So when we do this, a block is very helpful, especially if you're tight through those hamstrings. So we are going to go ahead and just take those hips forward. Hands on either side. I like to take my belly to the inside of my thigh and just drop my hips down. It just allows me to get more range of motion and to really feel that left hip flexor. Now, if you're not feeling that left hip flexor and you're as low as you can be, try curling the back toe, walking that knee back just a little bit, and see if that can give you a little bit more sensation. We're holding here nice and relaxed. Always remember that breath. It's easy to forget. One more big inhale. All right, as we exhale, we're going to go ahead and come back. We're going to keep those toes pointed down. This might be where that block becomes very helpful to you. As you straighten the leg, I want the toes to remain on the mat if you can. If not, if they're off the floor, just point your feet toward that floor just as much as you can. We're going to stack the hips, which means we're going to pull back on this right hip, press this left hip forward, and really get some length through that hamstring. When you find that proper positioning with your hips, you really notice a difference through that hamstring stretch. Keeping those shoulders relaxed, just trying to breathe. Big inhale. As we exhale, we're going to slowly come back down. Now, if you need the block, you can take it with you. Hands down. Remember that belly can be to the inside. Shoulders stay nice and relaxed. Stretching through that hip flexor on the left side and through the hip on the right. Nice big inhale. Notice that my knee and my ankle are stacked. I am able to lift up my front toes. That's how you know you're in a good position. On your next exhale, we're going to take it back again, but this time we're going to flex the foot. So we're going to just have our heel down, walking those hands back again. Block if you need it. From here, nice flat back. So we're not rounding to reach. Our back is nice and flat. Hands are on the floor or on the block.
Same thing. We're going to pull back with that right hip. We're going to push that left hip forward and really feel like we're about to drag this right leg back. Pulling those toes toward the shins in that flexed position. Feeling a lot more through that hamstring probably right now as we bring that flexion into it. Trying to keep that tummy tight, pushing out with the chest so we're not rounding, we're pushing that chest out, just creating as much length as we can. Think about reaching out through the crown of that head. And let's go ahead and bring it back. We're going to draw this right leg back. We're going to replace it with the left. So finding that position first, foot way forward so that when we sink down, the knee and ankle stack, you should be able to lift those toes. Maybe take that belly to the inside, drop those hips. Maybe we need to curl the toe and walk that right leg back so that we feel that hip flexor. I'm actually in a great place, so I'm going to stay right here. Shoulders drop. Think about that breath. Allow those hips to relax. One more breath. Big inhale. As we exhale, toes stay down, walking it back. We're pulling back on the left hip, pushing that right hip forward and holding. Now, don't be surprised if you feel this move all the way down through the top of that foot, maybe even by those toes. We are trying to stretch out through the front of this foot right here. Shoulders stay down, belly stays tight. We have that nice flat back, reaching out through the crown of the head. One more time, big inhale. As we exhale, let's go ahead and bring those hips forward. Sink, release, shoulders down, tummies tight. Back into that original position, making sure you're feeling that right hip flexor. Now, you may notice when people do yoga that they have this kind of ocean sound as they exhale in the back of the throat. You are welcome to make the sound. It does help your body to relax. But if that is something that makes you uncomfortable or you just don't like it, you do not have to do it. It's really more about the breath. I like to use that exhale myself because it does help me to relax and just to remind myself why I'm here and then I'm trying to release my day and just give my body a little balance. All right, we're going to walk it back. Remember, the toes come up. So coming back, toes up, pulling back on the left hip, pushing that right hip forward like we're dragging this left leg back. Now, if your knee, if you notice that it's really kind of bothering you, whether it hurts or it's just uncomfortable, you can always add padding underneath this stabilizing knee. There's nothing at all wrong with that, just to relieve some pressure through that knee. One more time, big inhale. And as you exhale, go ahead and move forward. We're going to drag this front leg back. And then again, we're going to switch the leg that's going to come forward. So we're moving into a release that our arm is actually going to help us with here. So the position is just the same. We're in that low lunge with that knee down. We're going to take that right arm on the outside underneath the thigh. We're going to use this forearm as pressure against the calf. So you may end up having to kind of adjust this front foot a little bit. But you're just going to kind of hug yourself. You're going to sink down. And I just have to scoot a little bit more forward to feel this release through the calf. Now, you do not have to use your arm. You are welcome to use like a rolled up towel. Anything like that will work just fine. Just make sure you watch that those knees don't go over the toes. As you look over that knee, you should still see those toes. Breathe into it. Release the calf. Think of this as like a foam roller. You're just trying to get yourself a little bit of release through that calf before we start to really stretch it out. One more breath. Big inhale. And as we slowly exhale, we're slowly coming back. And then we're just going to go ahead and switch again that leg opposite leg forward. So now it should be left forward, sinking down. We're going to go ahead and take this left arm underneath. The forearm is going to go against the calf. We are going to sink down. I have to bring this foot in a bit in order to get enough pressure on the calf to feel that. You're going to hold here, just relax those shoulders. Knee is not going over the toes. One more time, big inhale. And release. Let's go ahead and slowly come back into that tabletop position. So wrists underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath those hips. We're just going to do a tabletop stretch here. So we're going to reach back with that right foot. We're going to tuck the toes under and just push our hips back, taking the weight into the back foot or into the back of the foot, and just allowing that heel to press, feeling that gentle stretch in the calf. We're just holding here. And coming back to the center, let's go ahead and switch, stretching back the left. Take the weight, push it all the way back, pushing that heel back, hold. Think about keeping that tummy nice and tight, those shoulders away from the ears. You're pushing the ground away. And coming back up, we're going to move into a downward dog. If downward dog is something that bothers your wrists, you can do this either from the fists or you can come on down to the forearms. Either of those positions work. Curling those toes, tummy's tight. Let's go ahead, keeping the knees bent. Press the chest. From here, right calf down, right heel down, stretching the right calf. Shoulder blades away from the ears, let the head drop. So you should be looking between the legs. And just holding this excellent stretch. Really get some calf stretching here. And let's go ahead and switch. So now your left should be dropping toward the mat. Remember, we don't care if it doesn't touch the mat. That's not what it's about. We're here to feel the stretch. If your calves are really tight, you're probably going to be nowhere near that mat, and that is okay. Just give me what you can. All right, let's go ahead and take it back to those knees. We're going to take an opportunity to unload those wrists, and that just means we're going to roll them out. So if you were on the hands, sometimes it can be a lot to be on the wrists. So we just like to take the opportunity to just give them a little break, right? Those are muscles in your wrists as well. They need to take breaks also so that you don't get hurt. Okay, coming back in, tabletop, toes curl, back into that downward dog, straightening those legs as much as you can. We're going to go ahead and take those toes toward each other and allow those heels to fall toward the floor. So we're just getting a calf stretch from a different angle. Everything else stays the same though. Our shoulders are down, our tummy is tight. We're pressing our chest in, looking between those legs and breathing. Slowly taking it down. Again, coming off those wrists. Let's go ahead and just unload a little bit right here. Do any adjustments? Oh, I hate it when your pants roll down. It's very annoying. All right, here we go. This time we're going to take those toes in a different direction. So curl those toes right here, hips up, pressing the chest in. So now we're going to take those heels
toward each other. You can even bring them together if you like, and push your hips up toward the ceiling. Now, when you change that, it's really going to feel a lot different. Maybe not so much in the calves, but absolutely through those hamstrings. Keep those shoulder blades down, that tummy nice and tight, and you are trying to straighten those legs as much as you can. But this time, the knees may be bent, and I want you to really kind of push those heels into the floor if you can. Think about pushing through the palm of your hand, the pinky finger, shoulder blades are away from those ears. You're still trying to drive that tailbone up toward the ceiling. And release it back down. And then one more time, just roll it out. Perfect. Okay, so from right here, we're going to go ahead and come into forward fold. So you can either step up into the mat or however it's easier, we're just going to go ahead and come up into this forward fold position. The crown of the head drops. You're looking between those legs, heavy in that upper body. Let those hands just drape. Of course, if you have that block, the block is great to have here. I want you to be able to relax and not to worry about reaching the floor, making sure you can hit your goal. All right, we're working with what our body can do today. So let's just allow that head to drop, looking between those legs. Your hands can be on your body, a block, or the floor. That tummy is pulled in nice and tight, and you're trying to bring that chest or those ribs as close to those thighs as you can. We're holding here, feeling the stretch in the back of the leg. I want you to make sure that those legs are straight but not locked, definitely not bent because we can't feel those hamstrings. And we're trying to stretch those hamstrings. Hold here. All right, we're going to move into dorsiflexion. Let's go ahead and bend those knees, tummy tight, and slowly roll up while I explain what dorsiflexion is. So we're going to do a forward fold, and we're going to do it with our toes up. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can use your block to help prop your toes up. You can use your hands to lift your toes. You can place any object underneath those toes that will help give it some elevation. Dorsiflexion is the action of pulling your toe towards your shin. And that's what we're going for here because that's really going to incorporate the calves into the move. So take a nice big inhale all the way up. As we exhale, we're going to gently swan dive down, coming into that forward fold position again. So right here, we're going to either use the block and bring our toes against the side of the block and just allow those toes to come up in as much of a relaxed way as possible. Doing it on your own can be a little tricky because you're always worried about the balance. So this is why I really like the block, but really anything you have will work. Shoulders relaxed, let that head drop and just hold it here. Hopefully as soon as you lifted those toes, you're really going to feel that calf come into the stretch. Definitely more so than in a traditional forward fold. Keep that tummy tight and just allow the body to relax and sink down. And now we're going to release it and just come back into that forward fold, nice and relaxed. We're going to do that 2 more times just to really give those calves an opportunity to get a good stretch. All right, so then walking that block forward or using whatever you have, either propping against the toes or underneath the toes, find that balance, drop that head. Come into as deep of a forward fold as you can. Be aware that your balance does change as soon as you bring that weight to the heels. So just move nice and slow. And go ahead and release. Let those toes drop. Let that head drop and be heavy. If you're having any sinus discomfort, you can come up in between these 3 stretches and just allow your body to kind of release that pressure through the sinus. All right, last time. Propping up those toes, big inhale. Find that balance. Exhale, release the chest toward those thighs. Let that head drop. Be nice and relaxed here. You will find if you close your eyes that it does take a bit more balance. So if you are struggling and your eyes are closed, I invite you to open your eyes and just allow the balance to come first before you close the eyes. It's all about the calves, so the balance just kind of secondary here. Breathe as deeply as you can and release. Perfect. Okay, just kind of jog those heels here. Whew. Bend those knees, tummy tight, slowly come up. We're just going to give ourselves just a little bit of a break. Roll those shoulders at the top just a couple times. Just release any tension that we've built up with that last stretch. All right, we're going to move into forward fold again. But just like we did in downward dog, we're going to take those toes toward each other and our heels wide. I like to actually have my big toes touch. Please be aware this is a different way to stretch the muscles in the leg. So we're changing the plane. When you do that, you may find that it is a little more loose or it is a little more tight. So please move cautiously. And as you get into that position, really be aware of your body. If there's pain, I want you to stop. A gentle pull is great, but a sharp pain is never good. Make sure you back out of it and attempt again, or just do a traditional forward fold. So take a nice big inhale, arms come all the way up. As we exhale, we're going to keep that nice flat back as we slowly come down into that forward fold. So just like every forward fold, you can come down into your block. You can place your hands on your body, or they can be on the floor. The crown of the head drops and you're looking between those legs. If this isn't enough of a stretch, if you're not feeling anything, you can walk those legs a little more open if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, stay right here and just work on bringing the chest down and just feeling the difference in that stretch. For me, I really feel more along the peroneal line, the outside of these ankle, shin area right here. This is where I feel the stretch. But my peroneals are just always tight. One more breath. Big inhale. And exhale. All right, we're going to take the heels together and we're going to take those toes open. So heels right against each other. If you're familiar with bar or ballet, this is going to be first position. Allow that chest to come down, allow that head to drop and hold. So see where the difference is. So for me, this completely takes it out of that calf and shin area, and it's all up into the hamstring, but in a very unique place. So it's a lot higher, it's a lot more internal. It's really a great way to stretch because we don't just walk in one plane, right? We're using all planes of movement. And so we need to stretch in all planes of movement. Give me one more breath. Big inhale. And exhale. Let's go ahead and bring our feet back into neutral. Bend those knees and slowly come up at the top. Oh, just a shoulder roll. We're going to move into a pyramid. We're just going to go right into it. So I'm going to step back my right foot, and it really is not very much spacing at all. As you can see, you are on two separate skis, so we're not snowboarding, okay? We're skiing, so you want separation between your feet, and you want about a foot from your heel to your toe, all right? So from the front heel to your back toe is about a foot. I also want you to pay attention to this back foot because I want the big toe and the heel to be lined up. So I don't want any rotation, right? We're just trying to keep those toes forward. We're going to take those hips, point them forward, pull up through the kneecaps, tighten through the tummy, just tuck just a little bit, squeezing those glutes. Take a nice big inhale up. As we exhale, we're reaching out, reaching through the crown of the head, nice flat back. We're going to slowly come on down. When you feel the pull, you're going to go ahead and release those hands either to the legs, please avoid the knee joint, to your block, or to the floor. So I'm a bit tight today, so I'm going to stop right here. I want to stop before I round. This is about a nice flat back, reaching out with the heart. And I really want you to focus again on that good positioning through the hips. So we are pulling back with the left hip and we're pushing that right hip forward, really feeling the stretch in the back of the leg. This is hitting us all along that posterior chain, feels really good. Shoulders drop, let the head relax, release the tension in the neck. Again, closing your eyes will make that balance a bit more tricky, so feel free to keep them open, gripping the mat with those toes, allowing that muscle in the back of your leg, your hamstring, allow it to relax, allow it to get just a little bit deeper. And bend that front knee, tummy's nice and tight, and slowly come up. If you would like to take it a little bit more of a difficult level, you're going to take those arms next to the ears. Keep that leg straight as you come up. And release. Let's go ahead and switch the leg that's in front. Same positioning, about a ruler length from the back of the heel on the front leg to the toes of that back foot. Making sure the toes and the heel are lined up, toes are pointing forward, pulling up through those knees, tucking that tailbone slightly, tummy nice and tight. We're reaching out through the crown of the head. Nice big inhale up. As we exhale, we're reaching out through the crown of the head, slowly coming down. Both legs stay straight, nice flat back. Once you come to your stopping point, you're pulling back with the right hip, pushing that left hip forward. And just allow that chest to come down. Grip the mat with those toes. Feel the release through that hamstring. Allow your head to drop. Finding that balance. One more breath, big inhale. And exhale. So again, either bent knees or straight legs, rolling up our arms next to the ears, and nice flat back as you come up. All right, let's go ahead and change those legs again. So now we're going to bring that dorsiflexion into it again. Block if you need it, or on this one, you can just lift those toes because you do have the support on the block with your hands. So lining up, heel, toe, about a foot apart, up nice and tall, pull up, tuck that tailbone, tummy nice and tight, big inhale up. As we exhale, reaching out, finding that sweet spot, holding here, bringing the front toes up in that dorsiflexion. I'm going to go ahead and just place my block here because it works perfectly for me, but you may need to have something else, either another block or something else underneath your feet. As you do this position, I want you to think about pushing your chest towards your thighs. Shoulders are relaxed. Allow your head to drop. Try to maintain as much of a flat back as you can here, but feel how that calf is getting involved in this stretch here. It just completely changes this stretch. If it's too much on the arch, you can always readjust. If you need a little bit more, you can get a little bit more dorsiflexion from that front foot. Try to remember to relax your head, release your neck. One more breath, big inhale. Exhale, you're going to slowly move the block away. We're going to place the foot down, bend the knees, and slowly roll up. And now we're just going to transfer the weight to the front foot. And we're going to stretch out that back foot. Push the pad of your foot into the mat as you lift out through the heel and roll it back. 2 more times. Press the pad. Roll it back. 1 more time. Press the pad. Really lift up, pushing the heel toward the ceiling. And take it back. All right, let's go ahead and do that same exact stretch again. Nice big inhale. Swan dive. Exhale, slowly coming down. And flexing the toes. Maybe the block comes underneath it. Shoulders relax. Allow the chest to come toward the thighs. Allow that head to drop. Leading with the heart. Pulling back on the left hip. Pressing that right hip forward. And release it. Drop the foot first, bend the knees, slowly come up, using any of your options to come up, whatever works for you. Let's go ahead and switch. Finding the alignment, heels, toes, foot apart, up tall, knees locked, not locked, excuse me, wrong word. Knees pulled up, pulling up on the kneecap. Tuck that tailbone tummy nice and tight. Big inhale. As we exhale, reaching out with the crown of the head slowly coming down. Feeling the pull through the hamstring, we're going to hold. We're going to place that blocker object in front, bring dorsiflexion into it, take those toes, allow them to either rest on the block or whatever object you have. Tummy's nice and tight. Let's take an opportunity to check the hips, pulling back on the right hip, push that left hip forward. If you can, dropping that chest just a little more. Maybe the head relaxes down. And just breathe. Check that back left foot. Sometimes, like for me, I'm very much about turning my feet out. So my feet will sneakily do it on its own. So I really have to make sure that my toes stay pointed forward. This back leg is straight, just like this front one. We have no bend in it. Pull that leg as straight as you can, not locked out, but definitely straight, and just feel that whole back of the leg get a nice juicy stretch. Tummy's in tight. One more breath here. And as we exhale, we remove the block and allow the foot to come down. Bend that front knee, slowly roll up. And then at the top, let's go ahead and do those stretches on the back of the foot. So we're going to transfer the weight to the front foot. We're going to come up on the pad of that left. Bring the heel up as high as you can, like you're trying to get the heel to touch your calf. And then slowly release the heel down. Transfer that weight, lift up, get a great stretch through that foot. Our feet do so much every day. Release it down, and rarely do we actually give them the love they deserve. All the way up, pressing down into the pad of foot, trying to bring that heel as high as you can, and release. All right, check that alignment. Here we go. Last time, nice big inhale. Flat back, reaching out. Stopping where you feel the pull. Bringing those toes up, shoulders relax, big inhale. Exhale, relax down. Now, if you have a strap, I have seen people do this with a strap. They place the strap around the pad of their feet. I have tried it that way, and for me, it does not work very well. I tend to find that I'm a lot more rickety with my balance, but I do have clients that does work very well for. So that is always an option, to use your loop on your strap, place it underneath the pad of the feet, and use the tether to help in that dorsiflexion position. Let's go ahead and check those hips. Let's pull back on the right hip and push that left hip forward. How is our left foot? Is it maintaining its toes forward, toes and heels lined up? Let that head drop. I always forget. Release the crown of the head, any tension built up in the neck. And let's go ahead and release the block, foot down, knees bent, press through those feet as you slowly come on up. Let's just go ahead and change the foot that's forward. We're going to move into more of a soleus stretch. So if you're unfamiliar with the calf, we have the gastroc, or the big one that most people are aware of, and then underneath that is the soleus. And it tends to not get stretched quite as often as the big kind of main quote-unquote calf muscle that we have. So we're going to keep that same pyramid position with our feet. We're going to bend into the knees. And as you bend in the knees and kind of, it's almost a lean back, not way back, but you want those shoulders and hips to stay stacked. You're just going to come down into this little squat. Now, when you do that, you should feel the soleus of that back foot. It does take some leg strength, so just bear with me as long as you can. Keeping that heart lifted, just breathe, breathe, breathe. You can also adjust this foot, because sometimes just by a little adjustment, a little step back, you'll feel it a lot more. And gently come on up, big inhale. We're going to do that one more time. And exhale, bend both knees. Keep the weight in that back foot as you bend and sink.
And gently bring it up. Let's go ahead and switch. All right. Up tall, shoulders down, both toes pointing forward. Big inhale. And exhale, bend, sink. Oh, this one's much tighter on me. Shoulders relax, heart lifts. Excuse me. And let's go ahead and take it straight. Big inhale. And exhale again, adjusting the feet as you need to. You can kind of play with it and find out what position works for you. Everyone is different, everyone's flexibility is different. I want you to make sure that you're feeling the calf. It may even hit you all the way down toward the heel. Just depends on how tight you are. And gently come up. All right, let's go ahead and step forward. We're going to go ahead and take it to the ground. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, swan dive, come on down, forward fold. We're going to go ahead and step back into tabletop. From here, we're going to move into a hero's pose. So, hero's pose is taking your glutes all the way to your heels. If you have been with me before, I have some uh, I would call them bad. That's not really a great word for it. But I have some knees that are aging and they do not like to be in that compressed position. So I will show you a little trick if you're like me and can't get all the way down into that hero's pose. There are other tricks that you can use until you slowly get down. Now, I'm actually doing really well. I'm only about an inch away from being able to get all the way down, but it hasn't happened yet. So the trick is to use a block and place it behind the thighs on the calves. Now, this is not a calf stretch per se, but you can also kind of start to move it back a little bit more on the heel. So this is where I am right now. I'm getting it's getting there. I'm getting there. It's a daily workout. Okay, so from here, if you do want to pull more calf into it, it'll be a lot like what we did in that low lunge. You can take a rolled towel and place it on between your thigh and your calf. I have done it with a block before. I tend to find the edges of the block are just a little bit too much for that calf release for me. But if a block works for you, that's fine as well. If you would just like to stay here and just feel the stretch through those knees, through the front of the leg, you are welcome to stay with me here. We're just going to hold for just a few breaths. One more time. And release. All right, let's go ahead and take it all the way to those glutes. We're going to take those legs out straight. So we're going to come into a seated staff position. Those legs are all the way out. You're up nice and tall. In staff, you want your shoulders stacked over your hips, up nice and tall with a nice flat back, reaching out through the crown of your head. This took me many years to be able to do. Okay, so if this is you, hands behind you. Lift your heart, and I want you to hold it here. You're going to do the dorsiflexion and the plantar flexion on your own without the aid of the strap. If you can release your hands and you maintain that nice straight spine and your shoulders and hips stay lined up, then you're going to go ahead and grab that strap. If you are really flexible, I do not fall into that category, but if you are very flexible, you can do this probably without the strap. I like the strap because it just gives me a little bit more arm length and I really can focus on the calf stretch and I'm not so worried about making sure that I can grab my toes. If you can grab your toes, that's just fine. But please remember, this is about the calf and incorporating the calf into the move. It's not about whether or not you can touch your toes. So if you're going to follow me, we're going to go ahead and place the strap on the pad of the feet. We're going to dorsiflex, bring the toes toward the shins. We're going to be up nice and tall. We're going to grab our little tether. Or if you have the flexibility, you can grab onto the loop. Up nice and tall, we are going to pull with our arms so that our toes come closer to the shins, really getting that calf involved. Tummy in nice and tight. Reach through the crown of the head and exhale, bringing the chest toward the thighs. And I want to remind you again, this is more about the pelvic tilt than the back. It's actually all about the pelvic tilt, not about the back. So we're not rounding our back to reach forward. We're actually tilting that pelvis, bringing those pelvic bones toward the thighs, and just reaching back with that tailbone, pulling on the pads of the feet so that those toes are coming towards the shins, shoulders relax. It's a lot going on for a forward fold, but I want you to hang with me to really get some great benefits here. Now we're going to slowly release. We're going to go through this 3 times. The first 2 times are going to be exactly the same. The third time, I'm going to give you another option. So readjusting, big inhale, flat back. Exhale, pull the chest closer. Bring those toes toward the shins. Think about that pelvic tilt. Reaching out through the crown of the head. All right, give me one more. Big inhale. And exhale, release. All right, so if you feel a little bit more loose, you can go ahead and follow me for this next one. Ugh, sorry, my hair keeps getting in my eyeballs. Or you can try this, so you can repeat what we just did because I totally forgot where I was there for a second. You can repeat what we just did, or you can follow me into a progression. It's bending the knees, grabbing a hold of either the top of the toes or around the sides. And all you're going to do is take those legs straight, holding on to the knees or holding on to the feet. Good grief. So its legs start to straighten as you start to pull those toes in. Of course, the idea is that you can get it straight without reaching, straining, and rounding. So if any of that happens, I want you to go ahead and go back to the strap, okay? But if you can reach those feet and you can pull back on the pads of the feet, bringing the toes closer toward the shins, then you can go ahead and do this method. But please make sure you're not tucked in here and rounding and straining and stressing. This shouldn't be a huge reach. You really should be able to do this comfortably, keeping those shoulders down, that tummy tight. One more breath, big inhale. And release. All right, you guys, we are almost done. We're going to go ahead and come onto our back. So scooting all the way forward, the hands reach out. You're going to slowly come on down, nice and easy, tucking that tailbone, keeping that tummy tight all the way down. All right, if you have that strap, I want you to go ahead and grab that. We're going to do this one at a time, just a nice kind of finisher for this stretch. So it's basically what we just did. We're just doing it from a reclined position. So the loop goes around the pad of the foot, or again, if you can reach it and have that straight leg position, that's fine. If you don't have a strap, or it's just too much to get that leg straight, you can keep that knee bent and just work on that calf stretch. But I really like it with the straight leg. To me, it just gives it a little bit more stretch. It feels better. So strap around the pad of the foot. We're going to take this opposite leg. So right leg is up, left leg is reaching out, and you're taking the back of the knee and you're pressing it into the mat. We're going to go ahead and bring those toes toward the shins. We are using our hands on the strap to allow that to happen. And if you're doing it right, you're feeling the calf. Feel those shoulder blades sink back into the mat. And I want you to imagine this leg is coming directly out of the hip, and you're taking this femur bone and you're just feeling it drop back. It's falling down toward the mat as you pull those toes in towards the shin, relaxing those shoulders down. Breathing as deeply as you can. Please keep that left leg active. Those toes are flexed and you are pushing the back of the knee toward